Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FTEN X Academy. You are on the Round Peg Square Hole podcast. My name is Timothy Fair-Matthews, and we have a very special guest here today. His name is Mohammed Murad of Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and he is an entrepreneur and manages 4 companies. After a 20-year career in the Dubai police force, he retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2003. He has more than 27 years of experience as a director and CEO in the fields of the emergency medical services management, human resource development, and strategic planning, all in the government of Dubai. Wow, that's quite a resume. Mohammed has extensive experience in quality systems, coaching, and leadership development with a multinational workforce in the private sector. He is an entrepreneur now, a consultant, and a trainer, and obviously very fitting to be a part of this talk tonight, because we have a lot of people that I'm sure are very eager to hear your thoughts and how to be resilient with leadership in this time. So obviously the topic tonight, guys, Mohammed is the 3rd part of our resilience series, and he's going to be talking about leadership and what you can do. So Mohammed, absolutely lovely to have you on board. How are you?
I'm pretty good, and thank you for having me on board, Tim. It's a pleasure.
No worries. It's fantastic to have you. So thank you so much. So first of all, wow, that's quite a story. I mean, obviously I've done a run through, but I guess tell us how you ended up where you are. It'd be nice to hear a little bit more detail about your time in the force and what made you transition into the role you're doing now.
Okay, so I'll start right from the beginning. My father was a police officer, and he was incidentally one of the first graduate police officers in the Dubai police force. He joined the police force in the 60s. And as I was growing, we used to actually live in the police headquarters. So I was exposed to different police officers, with different experiences with the police events and so on. And as it goes, there was only one university at that time, Al Ain University in the UAE. And I joined the Al Ain University in business administration. And one day I hear where I was living, I was just living next to the headquarters offices. I hear that there is a cadet cohort that will be joining in a few days. So I pick myself up and I go to the assistant commander at that time. And I told him I want to join the police force without even telling my father that I want to do that. And he said, okay, you come after a few days and we'll let you join. And the rest was history. I joined the police academy, graduated, then exciting phases of the police that I was in, because I worked in the criminal investigation, first in the records and analysis, and then I went on the streets working on crimes, then on drugs, and then in surveillance. And one day I find myself with a telex message. Those days there were no faxes and no emails.
Those were the days, huh? Those were the days.
Those were the days. Very good days, if I may say so.
Yeah.
And the telex message said that you are transferred to the ambulance department, which is the emergency medical services.
Right.
And yeah, I had no idea what that was. But just like the military, you cannot say no. So I picked up my stuff and I went to the ambulance department. They showed me this beautiful office with wooden furniture, very big compared to what I was sitting on for just a few minutes a day, because I was on the streets in the criminal investigation department. They say, this is your office. And as it goes, human tendency is that you do not want to change. And I couldn't even sit on the office on the chair for 10 consecutive minutes. I needed to go around and then come back and sit. But things changed in perspective into looking at what the ambulance department did, because it was actually managing the emergency medical services for the whole city of Dubai at that time. Now it is what it is as the Dubai Ambulance Department. And the whole perspective changed into changing from following criminals one at a time into being responsible for the well-being and the rescuing of a whole city. So it was a fascinating change from criminal investigation to emergency medical services.
What did you enjoy more? What did you enjoy more? What was more rewarding to you?
Yeah, I cannot say that one was more enjoyable than the other. Looking at it from where I am right now, probably when I was in the criminal investigation and went into emergency medical services, I would have said I enjoyed the criminal investigation better.
Right.
But the satisfaction that I had was much more in the emergency medical services than it was in the criminal investigation. And there are no regrets. So I enjoyed both of them equally when I was doing the job.
Amazing. So how on earth did you transition then from this to where you are now?
Those days, there was no pension in the UAE, and within the police force, if you completed 20 years of service, you could ask for voluntary retirement. And this is what I did. 2 months before I finished 20 years of service, I said I have done a lot. I have achieved certain ranks. So it's time for change. And I asked for voluntary retirement. I was rejected the first time. A second time, a month later, rejected again. And the third time, I actually literally went to the headquarters and said, I need to be released. I need to look for other opportunities.
Alas.
Yes. And they gave me the retirement. And at that time, basically, I had no savings because UAE nationals were known for buying good cars and luxury items, but never looked at the saving. I think it's changed right now, but at that time, that is what I had. I had no savings. And I was on the lookout for what is good, what doesn't have barriers to entries as a business. And as it turned out, events was a lucrative business at that time, and there were not many players on the niche market there. So we started a company for event decoration and basically weddings. Now, imagine a police officer going and decorating weddings. It's a total change in mindset. But I believe the discipline that I learned in the police, that my master's degrees, because I actually finished 2 master's degrees as I was working for the police. I think my master's helped a lot into establishing the structure of the business in the beginning. And we worked on it step by step. My wife is my partner, by the way, in the business. And I think that helped a lot because she's the creative person and I am the managing person coming from the police and the discipline behind it. We started pretty small. We started with 3 people. And now we have something around 25 people. And we are among probably the best 3 wedding decorators in the whole region, the whole Gulf.
Wow! Okay.
We do weddings all over the Gulf, and we've had.
And is this Arabic weddings or Indian weddings or Western weddings? Is it a mixture?
Well, we have the whole spectrum. We've done Indian weddings, we've done Lebanese weddings, Iranian weddings, but the majority we actually concentrate on UAE's nationals because they are the bigger spenders. So we concentrate on them.
Wow, so sounds very diverse. Very diverse. So you obviously, the wedding business is still going. So this is one of the 4. You have 4 companies, is that right? You have the wedding business, right? You have the coaching.
Yes, and we do have, along with my wife, also a fashion brand.
Okay.
So it's evening wear and couture dresses.
Yeah.
We also have a beauty salon and spa, and I also manage an industrial laundry that has been going on since '73. That belonged to my father. He passed away, so I took the responsibility to run that also. So it's basically probably 5, not 4. Most of them has to do with women because they are the bigger spenders, and I think that was a wise decision.
I know. I can sense a theme happening here. I can sense a theme.
Yes. Well, whatever works and you continue with it, I think is a winning game.
Of course. I mean, to be honest, I've lots of questions, but I think my biggest one is, how do you find the time for all of this? This sounds an awful lot to stay on top of.
That's a question I get all the time.
Yeah.
And the answer is simple if you get the hang of it early. And the answer is you have to learn to say no.
Okay.
Once you learn that, then you will have to couple it with the art of letting go, delegation, which is something which was really, really hard for me to get a grasp on in the beginning. Being in the police and trusting other people to do it was not something that was easy for me. But once you get the grip of being able to say no to certain things and set time aside to doing other things and let other people whom you trust to do specific tasks, then it will be easy.
I mean, I think that's a problem with almost every business owner. I know letting go is one of the hardest things, learning how to delegate correctly. Acting as a CEO, I mean, Sebastian, again, our co-founder, just drills this all the time, that for you to be the master of your own business, you have to know how to lead and let go so that other things can happen, so you can focus on the big picture. And I don't think many of us do that. I mean, let's focus a little bit on the coaching side of things. So you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Is it globally or mainly focused locally?
It's locally. You were talking about time, and I don't have the time to put aside for too many coaching sessions. So I pick and choose, and it's local.
No problem. So I mean, I guess do you see that trend across your clients that you currently coach? I mean, do you find a lot of people struggle with this? Is that probably one of the biggest problems, do you think?
Yes, I believe it's a universal problem. In the beginning, specifically in the beginning stages of people going on into entrepreneurship, they get used to doing things themselves. And as the business grows, I think it's difficult for them to understand that there might be capable people who can do the job and not do it exactly like they would do it. They look for people who are exactly like them. And in leadership, there is no two leadership styles which are the same. I think if people get a grasp on that, then they will be able to easily manage or lead in an easy way and leave the management for others. But I have still my wife to convince that is the way forward, because she is one of those people who want to grab onto things, and creative people do that, and that's fine, because it's probably the other side which needs management more than the creative side.
No, of course. I mean, it's something I think we can all kind of sympathize with. I mean, it kind of makes it a little bit easy for you as well, if you're acting as the owner of these, that if you don't know anything about beauty salon in the respect of actually doing the work, it's easier for you to think macro with it. There's actually a lot of people I know that are owners of businesses they know nothing how the trade works. And in a way, it kind of works to your advantage, doesn't it? Because you're not swept up in that clash between working in the business or working on the business. And not enough people work on the business, do they? They work in it. And they forget that when their head's down and they're working on something that they've been paid to do, they're not making any money elsewhere. There's no scaling. There's no growth. It's just an income generating task, which is fine. But everyone has that line, don't they? And I think one of the biggest things we've noticed is that not many people were weathered to be okay during this pandemic. I mean, we've been, round the clock busy speaking to entrepreneurs left, right, and centre. I'm sure you have as well. And I mean, to be fair to everyone, I don't think anyone is normally weathered and prepared for a pandemic. I mean, a lockdown is quite extreme.
Right.
But I mean, I'm talking about things like cash buffers and mitigating your risk by having your revenue spread in multiple places, or having assets and processes in place that means that if people need to be replaced easy, you're not then swept up doing the work and you can easily swap someone. It's this sort of things that I think not many people have realized the importance of. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And probably I'll give you an example from my experience. There was an insurance person who had come to me and was talking about insuring the business and insuring the loss of key people and so on. In the beginning, I thought, what is he talking about? Nothing's going to happen to the business, and it's going to sail through without any problems and so on. And I didn't take the insurance at that time. But when COVID hit, I realized that although we have diverse businesses and some of them will take care of the others and so on, never say that business is not going to go down. And you need to take measures. For example, we are looking at closing one of the businesses that we have. It's been going on for 30 years now. But it's time that we pull the plug on it, because you don't get attached to the business. And this is something that I would like to advise the new entrepreneurs to do, is never get attached to the business. Business is there.
That's so hard to do, though. How do you do that?
It takes a lot of self-discipline, and it takes a lot of looking at what could be in the future rather than looking at what had happened in the past. Because if one of the businesses is draining you, probably it's only one business that you have. Then looking at future results, probably 6 months, a year ahead, and you realize that it is not going to sustain. If you attach to it, then there is no one else who could take responsibility except yourself. It takes a reality check, if I may say so.
No,
and if you do reality checks all the way through, from the time that you start the business till the time that you're ready to sell it, hopefully, or give it away for someone to run it when you're retiring, then it's going to be much easier.
We had a talk the other day with this confidence coach called Nancy Haynes, and she explained that a lot of people that she's finding at the minute are having this identity crisis, because a lot of people are having their businesses almost stripped away from them, just due to the fact they just weren't prepared for this pandemic. And it ties in very much with what you've just said. It's people get so close to this business, it becomes them, doesn't it? And in a way, it's almost like a relationship. I mean, like a healthy relationship doesn't mean that you absorb and you become one person. You're still very much your own entities, but you just work well together. And I guess it's the same with a business. I mean, it should never consume you to that kind of level because otherwise it's just you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So I see how that can be an easy trap. But I mean, for me, like I love my business as everything, and my whole team are my everything, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But so do you recommend that it's worth almost splitting the focus a little bit and building something alongside? I mean, what little exercises do you think people can make now to ensure that they don't fall into this trap where they're too connected, I guess, like from a macro perspective, of course? What little tips do you recommend?
I have learned the hard way that there has to be this balance between business and savings. That's one very important thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't do. I encourage people that could diversify and have different businesses, but that's not always possible for many of the entrepreneurs. So if you have the business, it's important to balance it with a kind of savings and insurance, business insurance, which is widely available right now in all the big companies. And the fact that you have to be ready to face challenges when they come your way. For instance, in 2008, we had a tough time. And it wasn't actually 2008. 2008, we were okay. But 2010, when the recession started being realized in a bigger way, at least for our clientele, then it hit us very hard, and we need to make a decision to lower expenses and look at a different level of clientele, because we aim at very high niche. We need to lower our standards in order to survive, and that's what we did. So you need to compromise. There is no way a business is not going to come across challenges. So you need to be equipped, both personally and in business process terms. But personally will be much more important than the business, because when you can think proactively and you are equipped to face challenges mentally, that is when the businesses are going to get reflected upon in whatever actions that you take.
That's so true. We just had a comment here. I think it's very appropriate. You must take a step back to see forest for the trees. It's so true. People need to keep that macro perspective in mind at all times. A good leader would never. I mean, is it natural for leaders to slip up? I mean, do you have to be, on point all the time? Is that possible?
If you're conscious enough, and I think it needs to be periodic. So within your monthly or quarterly cycle, if you actually plan to set aside some time and reflect, or I call it the helicopter view, where you leave everything that you are doing and just go away from it and see what's happening. It's going to open a lot of avenues of how could businesses be run better, and set a time for reflection. I think COVID has made it very apparent, at least for me and some of my clients, that meditation plays a very big role. Because meditation is a tool for you to have this macro view, and in fact, just leave everything and attend to yourself so that you can think clearly. And once you do that, then you can go back to the business, and things are going to be much easier if you do so.
No, that's so true. We've just got a little comment here from Shivani, literally just about what you were just saying just now. Do you think bad times make us realize what we don't need and actually become more efficient? I mean, I think so.
Well, if you look at my LinkedIn posts and my Facebook posts, there are 2 posts so far, and there will be a couple more that talk about thanking COVID because it has helped us realize so many things personally and in terms of this whole world and what's the structure and what's possible and what's not. Basically, I look at COVID. I didn't in the beginning, by the way, but right now I look at it as a friend, not an enemy, and it's so fascinating that you will be able to learn to deal with the pandemic in a much more efficient way if you have this shift of perspective.
No, it's so true. I mean, again, it's all perspective. I think if your perspective's right, everything will follow, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
It's
all about resilience.
We just got to, speaking of resilience, we've got James Matthews here. He says, how do you find your leadership resilience has changed during the last few months? And has it changed? Or do you think it's adjusted? Do you think leadership techniques have changed since COVID?
I don't believe it has changed. I believe it has been enhanced. And again, it goes back to seeing if you had good enough leadership skills before to run the normal way, and then polish them in order to be able to deal with challenges. And I believe my leadership skills have been enhanced into understanding my skill levels and whether they need to be developed or I need to actually add on a few other skills that I have left a long time ago, and I'll share with you. I trade options. I have been trading options for 20 years now. And somewhere along the way, the businesses took over and I no more traded options. COVID has brought back that skill, and I have actually taken 2 courses just to remind myself of the basics and what is new. And I believe I'm going to trade options from now on without stopping.
Wow. What material do you think? I mean, is there material out there you think most business owners can consume right now that will help their leadership skills? Has there been anything that you've consumed that you can recommend?
My perspective on leadership is that leadership is very personal, and different people have different styles. So my advice would be is do not get bound by recommendations of certain people to look up what works for you. I would urge people to go and find out. There are many free seminars that happen. There are many beginner or foundation seminars that happen. I think you should go out and find it, and it's available amply now. And then see what connects with you, because that is what you can work on and build upon, not the recommendation of someone like me, because I have my own style, I have my own perspectives of what I have to look for. But I do recommend for people who have not taken NLP, it's a foundation skill that any entrepreneur will need to go through for better leadership experience. NLP is one, and then of course it's leadership, and I'm a member of Toastmasters, which is a non-profit organization. I think communication and leaderships are very important now more than any other time, because it's online, therefore you need to get used to it. So if you join Toastmasters and you look at enhancing your communication and leadership skills, it is going to change perspectives and the way that you deal with people and the way that you listen, which is very important, by the way. Listening is a skill that we undermine and we don't pay attention or give it enough time. Listening, if you listen more than you talk, it's going to open up different frontiers for you.
It's why we have two of them, right? And one of these.
Absolutely.
So got another cool question here from Patrick. So Patrick says, what would you say are the 5 key qualities and attributes a great business leader must have or should improve on?
The number 5 has come up here. And I have a leadership theory for which I'm writing a book. God knows when it will come out, like many people who write books. But I actually teach leadership through these 5 elements, and I call them the 5 H's of leadership.
It's almost like you planned this comment to be here. Do you know Patrick?
Well, maybe I paid Patrick to actually.
Yeah, he did. Well done, Patrick. You've done your job, mate. You can go now. Cheers, mate.
So,
okay, so what are these 5 qualities? Tell me. What are these?
So it's the 5 H's of leadership, and it starts with the head. So, there are a couple of elements in the head that we will need to start with in order to start our leadership journey. And the first one that is there is knowledge.
Okay.
So acquire as much knowledge as you can. There will be times in the beginning of the journey that you will need to have focused knowledge. But it pays for you to have a wide variety of knowledge streams that might relate to your industry, and sometimes even not relating to your industry, that will come into play in the future. So knowledge, and at the same time, we have ears in our heads, and within the inner ear, we have a balancing element. So it's important for us to balance the intake of knowledge in order for us to obtain a fair amount with certain standards. So head. The second H is heart.
Okay.
And heart is all about taking risk, but calculated risk. There are many people who say, if you don't take risks, you're never going to succeed. Well, you will not succeed if you take risks without calculations. So it's important for us to take calculated risk. That comes from the heart. But the other element from the heart is empathy. Because once you start taking risks, it's very possible that you step on other people's lives and other people's career. If you don't couple it with empathy, it is not going to be as efficient leadership as you would want it.
But it's also not ethical. And at the end of the day, what we all doing this for, I know we are all here to make money, but we're here to enjoy life, aren't we? And make a difference and an impact. And if you don't have, I mean, if anything, that's a massive one, isn't it? Heart's a huge one.
Absolutely. So head, heart, and in the middle of the 5 H's is head. And probably this is something that is mentioned, underestimated, undermined within any leadership theory that it is. But it is specifically put in the middle because it has to be the core of whatever leadership journey we have. And whenever I talk about health, it is both head health, mental health, and heart health, which is physical health. So it's important for us to balance these two in order to obtain resilience. And the next H is humility. And probably within my journey, within the police, managing around 1,000 people and then growing as an entrepreneur and being responsible for the income of so many people, it's important to know that no one can achieve anything on their own. And it's important to know that you are part of a whole community. You are part of a whole system.
Yeah.
You are not alone and you are not above anyone. So it's important for us to have humility, be humble, in order to be perceived as good leaders. And the final H is happiness. Because I believe any leadership journey is about finding happiness. But the important thing is that happiness is not an end result. Happiness is the journey. And if we understand that, it is going to be such an enjoyable leadership journey that you will not need to think about anything else except for pursuing happiness. And while doing that, there are so many things that are going to fall in place, while not forgetting the other four H's, which are crucial, that they continue being enhanced and they continue to be, we need to be mindful of them as we go along, because they all are going in sync with each other.
No,
so Patrick, that's your 5 attributes.
Wow, that was an amazing answer. I think it's probably the best answer we've ever had on the show. Head, heart, health, humility, and happiness. There you go, Patrick. There's your 5. Got a little comment from Morgan here. So I agree. I believe you can be a great leader and have empathy, leading by example, standing others, knowing their worth, being compassionate and showing you care, and all most importantly, recognizing appropriate hard work. Yeah, so true. A lot of people, I've found that out. A lot of people don't always necessarily want, stuff or money as a gesture of appreciation. Some people just prefer to be told,
Oh yes, recognition is huge in leadership, and if you recognize people for what they do, and it's not necessarily that you give them prizes and you give them things and so on. A small word makes a world of difference in so many people. Although there might be people who get energized with physical rewards, and it's important for us to recognize who wants what, and then be fair to everyone, of course, at the end.
True. Patrick, got your answer, so thank you so much for that. Got another question here. So linking to people, I think this is a good one to go on to. Javid Kotyad says, as a business leader, how do you handle disagreements with co-workers? I mean, culture is always something that, again, we were talking a bit about this with Nancy Haynes, because she's a specialist with this. And people are very different. And I guess it comes down to knowledge, isn't it? If you don't know your team well, it's very hard to kind of understand what their values are and how everyone works. But I mean, it is tricky. I mean, I find culture very complex to get everyone happy, motivated, get the best out of them. You keep the respect, you make sure that they're motivated. I mean, what can you share here?
Well, again, I have a model of that I teach in teamwork, and one of them, it's like a puzzle that has different pieces, and 2 of the puzzle pieces that I talk on in making teams work more efficiently is to learn to problem solve and resolve conflicts. Now, they are 2 distinct differences, different elements that need to be understood separately and then co-joined when we are dealing with team members. The thing is that problem solving is process oriented. Conflict resolution is people oriented. And it's important that we understand the dynamics of how both of them work with each other. My advice would be, if you are faced with conflicts and problems, the problems arise, and as a result of the problems, conflict resolution arises in this sequence. Now, how you deal with them is the opposite way, because you need to resolve the conflict before you can solve the problem.
Wow.
If you don't resolve the conflict, the problem is going to continue because there will be clashes and no one will focus on the problem. So it's important for us to have means and tools to detect conflicts when they arise and detect problems when they arise within the processes, and devise a balanced way to deal with both of them in order to keep everyone motivated and happy.
Yeah. People, it seems obvious when you say it. It seems obvious, but
yeah, well, this is basically keeping teams together and making them most efficient is the most difficult thing in leadership, by the way. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that there are certain tools and practices that could come into play in order to make the teams work more efficiently.
That's good. Morgan's just come back and said, do you believe that some people are born leaders? Or is it something you can practice and learn? I mean, I don't know. That's a nature versus nurture question, isn't it? I mean, you could talk about this all night. What do you think?
Well, in Toastmasters, our slogan, tagline, is where leaders are made. But to answer that is the fact that everyone is born a leader. Everyone is born a leader.
Wow.
But whether they practice leadership and whether they become good leaders is an answer to they are made through their experiences. So unless you develop the skills, unless you polish the skills and be active in developing leadership styles and leadership experience, being born as a leader is never going to be of a benefit for anyone. So they are born, but unless they are polished, they are born, but they need to be made into efficient leaders. Just being a leader is not good enough.
True. Well, I guess it's anything, isn't it? I mean, everyone is talented, and everyone has a strong head on them, and everyone can. I mean, we've got a wealth of information available to us now on the internet. It's not like it was 100 years ago in the last pandemic. We can learn and leverage this and find ways to make it work. And if you want to become a good leader, I'm sure there's a lot of material, and there's people like you. You know, there's now this sort of communication. So where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there? Where there's a will, there's a way.
So a point of caution here. We could go and read all the books that are available in Amazon, and if you click leadership in Amazon, you will get hundreds of thousands of books that are written about leadership. We won't be able to finish all in our lifetime, and you don't need to. So my advice is that it's good to look at the spectrum of leadership theories that are available, but do not copy leadership styles from anyone, whether they are the biggest gurus or the smallest writers, because that is their experience in leadership. And you, as someone who has gone through your own life, where no one else has gone through your story, you cannot mimic their leadership styles and theories. Look at what is out there, pick whatever suits you, and create your own leadership theory, create your own leadership style. That is what is going to make you successful.
Wow. Good tip. Good tip. I guess it's just like taking advice from anyone, isn't it? You don't want to follow everything to the T. You want to find your own journey, but you want to use it as inspiration, I guess, and find your groove. Yeah, that's so true. Another great question here. What advice can you give to an entrepreneur and business owner to successfully lead and inspire their team through the current economic challenges? I think inspire is quite, I think for me, it stands out as the most prominent point there. Because keeping your team inspired when you're apart is hard, is very hard. What would you say to this?
You need to start with yourself. it's very important. Mindset, positivity, and outlook.
Okay, mindset, positivity, outlook. Okay.
Yes, you need to start with yourself, and you need to walk the talk. And once you do that, you need to look at what's coming forward. And here I think communication plays a very big role. And one of the puzzle pieces that I have in my team enhancement model is communication. Frequency and focus of communication makes a big difference into how teams perceive things and how they work. So communicate with them frequently, let them know what are the future goals, and be able to be focused into letting them know that things are becoming better if they are becoming better, and be realistic enough that if things are not going as well, you need to be frank with them also. So don't this whitewash things just to inspire them. There are times that we need to face reality, and you need to have your team with you.
Wow, yeah, that's true. Amazing, yeah, keeping up communication. I think a lot of people just get so caught up again what they're doing. I think they forget that communication and just keeping your team transparent is a big one. Great answer there. A similar question, but I think worth sharing anyway. Current scenario has put us in challenging situations. We are unable to pay our teams in full and all working from home. How can an entrepreneur or leader push his team to work harder? Well, again, it goes back to communication and doing what you just said. But how can you get the best out of your team in such situations like this? It is very hard.
Well, this is what I said. It's the current situation depends on what had happened in normal business days. Because if you had the trust of your employees, you will recognize them, you had been communicating with them properly beforehand, then they will give you the trust and believe you and be able to cooperate with you when the challenge is there, and look forward to what will happen after that, and they will be cooperative. For instance, myself, I slashed salaries to 50%, and now probably it's going to go to have compulsory leave for them, and there's going to be leave without pay if the situation persists. But there is not one single person from my employees who came to me and said, this should not happen to me. Simply because I did it gradually, and once the pandemic hit and the lockdown was there, I didn't go down to 50% right away. I gave them full salary for 15 days. And then it went back down to 70, and then to 50%. So it's gradual, and I kept on communicating with them that I appreciate that you cooperating with us, and this is what is going to happen if the business persists to go down. And I assure them that no one is going to lose their jobs, and no one has lost their jobs so far for me.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think, credit to you. You sound like you're a great leader yourself, and having the many businesses that you've had that you're in control of. I mean, that's a lot. 25 staff in total, you're saying, is that right?
Well, no, in total, that's for the event management is 25. In total, we have around 70 to 80 staff.
Wow. But I mean, I guess for me, it must, your time in the police must have helped you. Yeah. Would you say that? Would you say that you learned a lot and took away from what you were taught there in terms of your leadership skills? Or is this something you developed?
Absolutely. Both parts of my police career, criminal investigation and the emergency medical services, taught me a lot of how to work under pressure.
Yeah.
It's always different things happening. It's never the same thing. So it has helped me in building resilience. It has helped me into understanding the mentality of people, of how they think under pressure, when they are faced with challenges. And of course, the whole wisdom of the people that I have been working with. Mentorship is something that is very much appreciated from me, because I have learned a lot from my superiors, how they dealt with situations, how they dealt with the people they are. So we are always learning, and if we find something that is good, we replicate it, we implement it ourselves, and that's how success comes.
There we go. Well, someone just said, how do you measure success? So there you go, just answer it. That's how success comes. I guess also the success, I guess, can depend also on the person. I mean, it depends on what you want to achieve, isn't it? With your team and your business. I mean, what's the goal you're aiming for? I mean, you can be successful from day one, I guess, can't you? I mean, success is happiness, isn't it?
Well, yeah, basically it's what do you define success as? Is success for you to make more money as a business, or is success for you to be happy? And happiness has got so many different. For me, it's making my employees happy. You know, if you are in charge of employing 80 people, then you are feeding 80 families.
Yeah, well, yeah, you have to remember
that's
that.
Happiness for you. See, one of the most important things that I always say is that never let greed come into business. And probably this is one of the reasons why we have been successful into maintaining businesses, because we have never grown faster than what we should. There are other peers of ours that have gone out of proportion when the times were good, and they are facing a lot of problems now. So greed should not be an aspect of success, because that's what success promotes. If we are not careful in people, it brings up greed, and if it comes out, then success is going further and further from this business and this person.
So true. Got Sajid Mogul here from the UK. Because I guess we're much luckier here with furlough payments. So in the UK, they're doing furlough payments for the staff, but it's been super important to keep staff feeling supported during this period. So, yeah, I mean, we got to remember that the world is this. I mean, someone said to me a really nice quote the other day. It's the same storm, different boat. I mean, everyone's in it at the minute. It doesn't matter who you are.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter whether you are an A-list celebrity, whether you're the Queen, you know, Sheikh Mohammed, whether you're a pauper in, you know, in a third world country, whether you're, you know, anyone. I think all of us are being so drastically affected by this. It's
and probably this is one of the blessings of COVID, is that it has brought everyone on a plane level, whether it's countries or world leaders or even a street cleaner. Everyone is on the same level, and it's important for us to understand that we are going to go through this. But how we are going to go through this is by pulling together and working together. There's no other way.
So true. Yeah, I think we did another talk not so long ago, and if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But it's all about going far, isn't it? That's the whole point. So thank you. So I think we're going to have to end the talk there, because I know we're nearly at our hour, but some amazing takeaways there. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for sharing all that. I mean, for me, you know, the mindset, you know, the positivity, the outlook, you know, is a big takeaway for me. The 5 H's, head, heart, health, humility, and happiness. That's an amazing one. I'm certainly going to be following you a lot more with all your posts and what you do. If people want to stay in touch, and I know you're in the academy, guys, so anyone who has any questions, feel free to tag Mohammed in later. I'm sure he won't mind responding if you're watching this video later on. But how can they get in touch with you, Mohammed, if they want to see you and speak to you later outside of the group?
Right. So I'm available on LinkedIn. Mohammed Murad is the name. Twitter is the same name. And my email is mohammed@mohammedmurad.com. So any of these means, I'm available in all the social media, so you can look me up. What I always say is that if I'm not Googleable, then I'm not worth knowing. So if you Google me and you find me, then probably it's worthwhile for you to know me.
There you go, guys. If you want to get in touch with Mohammed, just Google him. There we go. Amazing. Mohammed, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You've given us so much value, and I hope you have an amazing evening, and we look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you everyone who has been there and actively participated. I hope to stay in touch with you in the future.
Take care, guys.